During the migration period and up to the end of the 7th century, the Slavs settled across Eastern Europe, occupying vast territories. In particular, they inhabited the lands in the basins of the Vula and Oder rivers. The Slavic tribes that remained in these lands gradually united, forming a single people who later became known as the Poles. The Polish nation was formed on the basis of 6 major Slavic tribes, as well as about 24 smaller ones. This was a period in history when they did not yet leave written records about themselves. So much of what we know about them comes from legends. Among such legends was the popular story about the founder of the Polish nation, Lech. He had younger brothers, Czech and Rose, who founded the neighboring Slavic nations, the Czechs and the Ruthenians. The name of Lech is also linked to the legend of the origin of the Polish coat of arms. When he set out in search of a homeland for his people, he encountered a white eagle along the way. On that spot, Lech founded the city of Gunno, and the white eagle remains on Poland's coat of arms to this day. The name Lech is also derived from Lech in legends, serving as another term for Poles. Nevertheless, most researchers now believe that this word originated from the Lendian tribe, one of whose names was Litas. They lived near the border with the Ruthenians, and the name of this tribe eventually extended to the entire Polish people. Did you know you can become a legend yourself with today's sponsor, Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus? Charge into battle under Aquila banners in this turn-based strategy game. The legendary Polish rulers also include Prince Krok, who is set in legends to have founded the city of Kov, and Prince Vizimir, who led the Slavs to the shores of the Baltic Sea and defeated the Danes. The origins of the historic real Piast dynasty are also shrouded in legend. Its founder, Piast, was a simple peasant but very generous. The legend tells how he once gave away his last food to feed monks. As a reward for such generosity, he or his son, according to another version, was granted princely authority, and their descendants were given the divine right to unite the Polish tribes. For a long time, the most powerful among these tribes were the Vins, who lived in the upper reaches of the Vista River. The famous Greek missionary Methodius mentioned them when visiting Bohemia. He lamented that they, as pagans, attacked Christian lands, and that he had urged the Vistan prince to adopt Christianity. Nonetheless, in a prolonged struggle with neighboring tribes, the Vistalian were weakened, and by the late 9th century, they were subjugated by the rulers of Great Moravia. While the Vistan tribes along the Vista River paid tribute to Great Moravia, the Poland tribe was developing along the Oder River. Their name is derived from the word Pol, which is translated as field, since this tribe would lay the foundation of statehood. The name of the Polish people and the country of Poland would originate from them. The Poland were ruled by the Piast dynasty. The early rulers of the dynasty were semi-legendary, and historians cannot confirm or deny their existence. It is known that they brought neighboring small tribes under their rule and significantly strengthened the power of the Poland. The first historically confirmed ruler of the Polands was Duke Mieszko I. He was destined to become the founder of the Polish state. Due to the scarcity of sources, the exact year when Mieszko I began his rule is unknown. The approximate date is considered to be 960. The first confirmed event of his reign was his adoption of Christianity in 966. Mieszko also carried out a military reform. He established his own princely retinue of 3,000 warriors, well equipped with weapons and armor. Such a professional army allowed him not only to subjugate the remaining Polish tribes, but also to defend against invaders from neighboring countries. At the beginning of his reign, Mieszko I subjugated the neighboring Moavian tribe. In 967, he launched his first campaign to the shores of the Baltic Sea, and by 972, he had fully subdued the Pomeranian tribes. From this tribe originates the Polish ethnic group known as the Kasjans, who currently live in northwestern Poland. Though even at that time, the Germans laid claim to these lands. The Saxon Margrave Odo marched against the Poland Duke. Their armies clashed at Sedia, and in a hard-fought battle, Duke Mieszko managed to repel the German invasion. Realizing that he could not resist the Germans for long, Mieszko I was forced to make peace with Emperor Otto I and begin paying tribute. The peace with the Germans allowed Mieszko to focus on further uniting the Polish tribes. A significant challenge was that the tribes in the south were paying tribute to neighboring Bohemia, a remnant of the once powerful Great Moravia. As a result, Mieszko had to engage in a prolonged war with the Bohemians, in which he ultimately emerged victorious. By 985, Mieszko I had subjugated Silesia, and by 990, he had taken control of the lands of the Wends. In doing so, the Poland Duke Mieszko I united all the Polish tribes, becoming the founder and first ruler of Poland. The lands inhabited by the Poland, which formed the core of the Polish state named after them, came to be known as Greater Poland. In contrast, the lands of the Wallons, where the Polish state expanded last and with the influence of the Polans was weakest, would later be called Lesser Poland. After the death of Mieszko I, power passed to Piast I the Brave. Even during his father's reign, Bolesław commanded his armies and participated in campaigns where he distinguished himself with his bravery, earning his moniker. To prevent the disintegration of the young state, his first action was to expel his stepmother and her sons who claimed separate holdings within Poland. Afterward, Bolesław focused on strengthening his state. First and foremost, Bolesław secured the independence of the Polish Church by establishing the Archbishopric of Gniezno, making it independent from the German and Bohemian churches. Later, during negotiations with Emperor Otto III in Gniezno, Bolesław achieved an agreement that Poland would no longer pay tribute to the Germans. Following this, Piast began minting his own coins, solidifying Poland's independence. When a civil war broke out in neighboring Bohemia, Bolesław the Brave sought to take advantage of the situation to expand his territories. In 3, he even captured Prague and proclaimed himself Duke of Bohemia. Nonetheless, lacking the strength to maintain control over Bohemia, Bolesław decided to place his own candidate on the Bohemian throne. This struggle for the region brought Polish and German interests into conflict once again. The war dragged on for years, with both sides launching multiple campaigns against each other, but neither managed to secure the contested territories. Finally, in 1018, the two sides signed the Peace of Balsan, under which Bohemia fell under the authority of the emperors while Poland gained the Lucan lands. After concluding the war with the Germans, Bolesław turned his attention eastward. At that time, a succession war had erupted in Kiev among the sons of Volodymyr the Great. Piast decided to support his son-in-law, Prince Fatul, and in 1018 launched a campaign against Kiev. On his way, he defeated the Ruf's forces in the Battle of the Bug River and then easily captured Kiev, installing Spul as its ruler. Another symbol of Poland is tied to Kiev. According to legend, as Boleslaw the Brave entered the city, he struck his sword against its gates, leaving a notch. The sword, now nicked, became known as Sherbet's jagged sword. In the future, this sword would become a symbol of Polish statehood and was used during the coronation of all Polish kings. On his return journey, Bolesław annexed the Red Ruja to Poland. This was the sole lasting achievement of the campaign, as Świętoполk failed to maintain his grip on power in Rose for long. The final achievement of Bolesław the Brave was receiving a royal crown from Rome. His coronation took place shortly before his death, marking Poland's transformation into a kingdom. Despite the elevated authority of a king, this did not protect the realm from internal strife following Bolesław's death. As a result of this war, Poland was divided, and neighboring countries supporting one side or the other began to seize Polish lands. The interference of Bohemia was especially damaging for Po, as the Bohemian Prince Bretislav I not only captured Silesia, but also burned No. Only the grandson of Piast the Brave, Casimir the Frere, was able to reunite Poland, earning the nickname the Restorer. Casimir the Frere spent his youth in exile, but in 1039 he returned to his homeland. He took control of Greater and Lesser Poland and moved the capital from the ruined Gniezno to Kiev, which would remain the Polish capital until the late 14th century. Casimir I then focused on reclaiming all Polish lands. In 1047 he annexed Movia, and 3 years later he took back Silesia from the Bohemians. His sons continued this policy. King Bolesław II returned the Red Ruthenia to Poland and pursued an active foreign policy, assisting his allies in gaining power in Rose, Bohemia, and Hungary. Domestically, he implemented centralization reforms, which led to a conflict with the Bishop of Kraw, Stanis, and his subsequent murder on the king's orders. As a result, a rebellion broke out against the king, forcing Piast to flee the country. A legend arose in Poland that the mutilated body of Bishop Stanislaus was miraculously restored before his burial, and he became the patron saint of Poland. This legend symbolized the resilience of the nation, with the belief that, like the saint's body, the country would recover from any calamity. Brother of Bolus II, Vadas I Herman, began to rule after his brother's exile. During his reign, problems started to emerge that soon led to a serious crisis in Poland. The Red Ruthenia land separated from Poland, and the rule of the region was taken over by Rus princes. Vasa faced rebellions both from local rulers and from his own sons. Even more problems arose with the powerful Voud of Kov, Sikh, who was so influential that he minted his own coins. Through intrigue, he attempted to seize the royal power. All of this put Poland's unity at risk. Eventually, in 1100, Poland was once again divided. Eventually, a divided country longed for reunification, and after 9 years, Prince Basa III Routh succeeded in reuniting the Polish state. This led to a war with the Germans, as Emperor Henry III, who supported Boswa II's brothers, invaded Poland. At the start of the campaign, Henry's efforts were unsuccessful. Fortresses in Silesia resisted him. Notably, the defenders of Glal repelled all assaults and kept the Germans out of the city. Eventually, the weakened German army clashed with the Polish forces at Hunfeld, where Piast III decisively defeated the invaders. After his victory, Piast III focused on expanding the borders of Poland. Through several campaigns, he conquered the Pomeranian lands by 1130 and even launched an expedition to the island of Rügen, though he was unable to establish lasting control over it. Before his death, King Piast III divided the kingdom among his 5 sons, with the eldest son remaining the king, while the younger brothers were expected to submit to him. As soon as Piast III passed away, his sons quarreled and began fighting among themselves, alternating in their attempts to seize the throne. Eventually, in 122, after the death of Mieszko III the Old, Poland was definitively divided into several principalities, the main ones being Greater Poland, Lesser Poland, Silesia, and Movia. After all, as the legend of Saint Stanislaus suggests, no matter what misfortune befell Poland, it would always recover. During the period of fragmentation, Poland faced numerous problems. In 1226, the Movian Prince Conrad I invited the Tonic Knights to help fight the Baltic tribe of the Prussians. Although the Tonic Knights were actively engaged in this, they also began to lay claim to Polish lands. After establishing their own state on the shores of the Baltic Sea, they began to fight against Poland, posing a threat to the existence of the Polish state until they were finally defeated in the Battle of Grunwald. In 1241, the fragmented Poland was attacked by the Mongols, who had just raided Rus. They burned most of the Polish cities and defeated the Polish-German allied forces in the Battle of Lech. Nevertheless, they did not advance further into Poland, as the Poles inflicted significant losses on the Mongols, and the Mongol army did not have enough strength to continue their campaign. Experiencing so many problems and hardships, the Poles understood that they needed to unite, as a divided Poland could not resist all its enemies. One of the Polish princes, Władysław, did not rule a powerful principality, Sandier, but he had a strong desire to unite all of Poland. By 1300, he managed to establish control over Poland and Greater Poland, and then spent another 20 years strengthening his rule there. In 1320, he was crowned as King of Poland. Vadas the Loki Eta tried to seize Pomerania, but faced resistance from the Teutons, who also laid claim to it. His son, Casimir III, became king in 1333 and continued the unification of Poland. First of all, he had to reconcile with the Bohemian King John I of Luxembourg, who also claimed Poland and even assumed the title of its king. The price for John's renunciation of claims to the Polish crown was the Duchy of Silesia. Casimir agreed to recognize these lands as part of Bohemia, and thus they became part of the Holy Roman Empire. After this, the king annexed the Duchy of Sarats, which belonged to his brother. In his conquests, Casimir focused on the east. The local dynasty in the Kingdom of Rus had just come to an end, and the Boers of Lviv invited Casimir III to rule Gallia. These lands were also claimed by Lithuania and Hungary, and because of this, the Poles had to fight with them for these territories over the next 50 years, alternately forming alliances with Hungary against Lithuania and with Lithuania against Hungary. Eventually, Gallia was secured by Poland, while Volhynia came under Lithuanian control. Casimir III also focused on the conquest of Movia. He used various methods. He directly conquered several principalities in Kuyavia, exchanged lands for diplomatic aid and military alliances, as was the case with the Dojin Principality, which he received in exchange for an alliance with the Teutons. He forced local princes to take a vassal oath using political pressure as with the Plu Principality, or even bought lands and titles from impoverished local rulers like the Czech Principality. Thus, the Polish king subdued all of Movia by 1352. For his achievements, Casimir III was even given the title the Great by his contemporaries. Casimir III also had unsuccessful wars. In 1345, taking advantage of internal Bohemian disputes, he tried to return Silesia to Poland. Despite a Polish victory at the Battle of Pogoń, Casimir was unable to secure Silesia, and in 1348, he renounced it for the second time. In addition to his conquests, Casimir III was also notable for important reforms in domestic politics. To strengthen Poland, he built many castles. The Polish have a saying, Casimir III received Poland as wooden and left it as stone. Moreover, he improved the country's economy by inviting foreign merchants, first and foremost, allowing Jews, who were being expelled by other European kings at the time, to settle in Poland. Casimir III had no sons, so the Polish crown was inherited by his nephew, King Louis of Hungary from the Unine dynasty. In Poland, his power was limited by the local nobility, the Szlak. To strengthen his rule and secure inheritance rights for his children, Louis had to grant the nobility privileges, which confirmed certain rights for the aristocracy, particularly access to the governance of the kingdom. The king himself, though, did not take part in ruling Poland personally. He appointed his representatives there and remained in Hungary, where he had more authority. After the death of Louis I, the Polish nobility independently chose his daughter Jadwiga for the throne. In the documents, she was referred to as king rather than queen. 2 years later, Jadwiga was crowned in Krów. The Polish nobility also chose a husband for Jadwiga. At that time, the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, which had expanded through the lands of Rose and stretched from the Baltic to the Black Sea, was gaining strength. Such an ally was useful for Poland, and thus the prince, Jogala, was offered to marry Jadwiga. At that time, Jogala was fighting with his cousin, Wotus, for power in Lithuania and was also seeking allies. He was still a pagan and had to convert to Christianity for the marriage. Eventually, the agreement was signed in Kral. Jogala would become the king of Poland under the Christian name Władys II, but he promised to annex the Lithuanian lands to Poland. This document went down in history as the Union of Kral. All of this allowed Poland to transform from a small kingdom in Eastern Europe into a powerful state within which the Polish people were formed. Thanks to the Union of Kral, not only did several dynasties change peacefully in Poland, which was rare in the Middle Ages, but also the foundations were laid for the creation of the Commonwealth, when Polish statehood reached its peak of power and its territories expanded far to the east.